Here we are going to discuss about the extrahepatic biliary apparatus. So it starts with the liver. So in the liver there's hepatic ducts, two hepatic ducts, that is the right hepatic duct and left hepatic duct. Okay, so this right and left hepatic duct join together to form a common hepatic duct. Okay, common hepatic duct, and this common hepatic duct, it on this side it forms a gallbladder like this. So this is a gallbladder and this is a cystic duct. So gallbladder is actually divided into three parts. This is the fundus part of gallbladder, this is the body of gallbladder, and this is the neck of gallbladder. And near the neck there is a projection like thing which is called as Hartmann's pouch. Okay, so now along with cystic duct, the common hepatic duct, together they form a bile duct. The bile duct is also called as common bile duct. It can be also called as common bile duct. Okay, and this bile duct only it moves forward and it passes back of first part of duodenum. So this is the duodenum. It passes back. So actually it should be like a dotted structure because it is passing posterior to the duodenum. Okay, so one more thing, this is like a just basic idea. So right and left hepatic ducts join together to form common hepatic duct. Actually this right and left hepatic ducts are they are emerging from the porta hepatis. If you remember, the porta hepatis is present in the posterior surface of the liver, right? So in the porta hepatis this right and left hepatic ducts are emerging, and let us see the arrangement of structures in porta hepatis from posterior to anterior side. So most posteriorly, for example, this is porta hepatis, this is ligamentum venosum. So in the porta hepatis, if you see, the most posterior structure will be the portal vein. Okay, after the portal vein you will have the hepatic artery, after that you will have the hepatic ducts. So let me mention, the most posterior structure is portal vein. Okay, and in the middle you will be having your hepatic artery, and the anterior most structures in the porta hepatis is hepatic duct. So this is the arrangement of structures in the porta hepatis. So now we are clear with right and left hepatic ducts. It has joined to form common hepatic duct. Common hepatic duct along with the cystic duct, it will form the common bile duct, and this common bile duct is passing behind the duodenum. Okay, after passing behind the duodenum, it will go into the it will go and drain into the second part of duodenum. This is the first part. So if you see here, it will drain into the second part of duodenum. Okay, so this is your common bile duct. So this, along with common bile duct, there comes another duct which is a main pancreatic duct. So from the pancreas you will get the main pancreatic duct. So the main pancreatic duct with the common bile duct, they together drain into the the duodenum second part as, so they both open as a major duodenal papilla. Okay, this is the major duodenal papilla in the second part of duodenum. Okay, and if you see here, there are like sphincters around the common bile duct, and there is also a sphincter around the main pancreatic duct. The sphincter around the bile duct is called sphincter of sphincter of Colli-Docus. Okay, and the sphincter around the main pancreatic duct is pancreaticus, sphincter pancreaticus. Okay, so sphincter pancreaticus is around pancreatic main duct, sphincter Colli-Docus is around the bile duct. Okay, so now this sphincters and this hold together, this main pancreatic duct along with the bile duct together have a main sphincter, big sphincter. This is called as sphincter of Oddi. Okay, this is sphincter of Oddi, and the opening point of this together ducts is called as ampulla of Vater. Okay, the major duodenal papilla are also called ampulla of Vater in the second part of duodenum. Okay, so Mainly whenever this, this sphincter of OD, and whenever the this gallbladder will contract, then only the juice from the gallbladder and the pancreas will release into second part of duodenum. So by the means of CCK, that is cholecystokinin hormone, it activates the gallbladder, it contracts the gallbladder, and also it relaxes the this pancreaticus sphincter and also the sphincter of choledochus, so that the fluid will enter here and the digestion will go on. Okay, and so this is like an overview of the extra hepatic biliary apparatus. Now let us include some of the important points which need to be discussed over here. Okay, so actually in the cystic duct there is some spiral course of like this spiral course of the mucous membrane of cystic duct. It is forming actually 5 to 12 crescentic folds which are arranged spirally, and they are called as spiral valve of Hester. Okay, so what is this called? Spiral valve of Hester. Okay, this is also important in the cystic duct. Now let's see the arterial supply for the extrahepatory apparatus. So the artery is, you have the cystic artery. The cystic artery is a chief artery of blood supply. It is mainly distributed to gallbladder, okay, to the cystic duct, to the hepatic duct, and also to upper part of bile duct. So till upper part of bile duct, it is supplied by the cystic artery. Okay, and next comes the posterior superior pancreatico duodenal artery. Okay, this artery supply the lower part of bile duct. So till the upper part of bile duct by cystic artery. From the lower part of bile duct, it is supplied by this posterior superior pancreatico duodenal artery. And next comes the accessory cystic artery. This accessory cystic artery arises mainly from the common hepatic artery or from one of its branches, and it will supply some of the accessory parts. Next, coming to the cystic artery, as we discussed, it usually arises from right hepatic artery and passes behind common hepatic and cystic ducts over here and reaches the upper surface of neck of gallbladder here, where it divides into superficial and deep branches. So let me show that diagram, that arterial supply diagram. So here you can see clearly uh, this is the cystic artery which is dividing into two branches near the gallbladder, and you can see this is the right branch of hepatic artery. This is cystic lymph nodes. This is the hepatic artery which is in turn divided into common hepatic artery and gastroduodenal artery. This is the right gastroepiploic artery. This is the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery. So these are all the arteries which are related with the gallbladder, bile ducts, and the hepatic ducts. Okay. So now coming to the venous drainage, let us discuss about the venous drainage of this extrabiliary system. The venous drainage is mainly done by hepatic veins. So mainly they go into the hepatic veins. Okay, and also there are like rest of the gallbladder drain into the cystic veins, and from here they commonly enter the liver by means of hepatic veins. Okay, either they will enter directly or they join some other veins and drain into hepatic ducts, next into upper part of bile duct. So rarely cystic vein opens into right branch of portal vein, and also the lower part of bile duct drains into portal vein. Lower part of bile duct. Here you can see this is the lower part of bile duct which will directly drain into the portal vein sometimes. Okay, so into the portal vein. So these are the different veins like hepatic vein, cystic vein, portal vein. Mostly in the hepatic veins and also mostly in the portal vein. Cystic veins only sometimes, rarely. Next, coming to the lymphatic drainage. The lymphatic drainage is mainly to cystic node. Okay, and to the node of anterior border of epiploic foramen. You know epiploic foramen, so to that anterior epiploic foramen also sometimes the lymph may drain. And the most constant members of upper hepatic nodes, the most constant of lymphatic drainage is for hepatic nodes, hepatic type of lymph nodes. And the cystic node lies with the angle between the cystic and common hepatic ducts, and it can enlarge in the case of cholecystitis. Next, the lower part of bile duct. This lower part of bile duct especially drains into the pancreatico-splenic type of lymph nodes. Okay. And next, let us discuss about the nerve supply. So the nerve supply is by cystic plexus of nerves which are derived from hepatic plexus. Okay, it is derived from hepatic plexus, which is in turn from the celiac plexus. Okay, in the case of parasympathetic by right vagus and right phrenic nerve, and mainly it is supplied by T7 to sympathetic fibers T7 to T9. Okay, T7 to T9. So finally, let us discuss about clinical anatomy related to this. So in the clinical anatomy, you need to discuss about the fat. So actually the food which is rich in fat, whenever the food is rich in fat, then the gallbladder will start its contraction and it will release its secretions, and mainly because of proenzyme called cholecystokinin, that is CCK. Okay, whenever there is more fat in your food. And the second point which you need to see is mainly we use the ultrasound to check the gallbladder function. Okay, so ultrasound. And next one is cholecystitis. In the name itself you can see whenever you get itis means it is inflammation of gallbladder. So whenever there is inflammation of gallbladder, there will be severe pain in right hypochondrium region, which will also radiate to inferior angle of right scapula and also right shoulder. So whenever you have inflammation in gallbladder, the pain will be in the right hypochondrium region of stomach and also in the right scapula and also right shoulder. So this sign is called Murphy's sign. So Murphy's sign is very useful to check out the inflammation of gallbladder. Okay, next coming to stones. Stones in gallbladder is very common, that is called as cholelithiasis. So this is a stones in gallbladder. They occur especially in fat or obese female of 40 years age. Also in the men it is common. So these stones are responsible for severe spasmodic pain, means the pain is repeating several times. This is called as biliary colic. So severe pain means in a rhythm like the pain will be coming. Okay. Next, Murphy's sign is also useful in this case of cholelithiasis. Okay. So next coming to the removal. If you want to remove the gallbladder in the case of either stones or inflammation or anything, that process is called cholecystectomy, which is done by surgeons. And next coming to typhoid fever. So how typhoid fever is attached to gallbladder? In the case of typhoid fever, the lymphatic tissue is affected, bone marrow is affected, gallbladder is affected. So gallbladder is infected in these cases, and the carrier state may be due to typhoid bacilli. So typhoid bacilli can be seen in the gallbladder. Okay, and next you have one final law, that is Courvoisier's law. So what is Courvoisier's law? It is a dilation. It is the dilation of gallbladder in extrinsic obstruction. Extrinsic means from outside there is some obstruction of gallbladder, due to bile duct pressure, or due to, like you can say, any carcinoma. Here due to bile duct pressure or due to carcinoma, even due to carcinoma of the bile duct, you can get this like pressure from outside, and also especially carcinoma in head of pancreas. Okay, and also intrinsic obstruction means from inside because of stones or dilation caused by fibrosis. So right here intrinsic is due to stones, okay, or fibrosis. So by this we have completed the gallbladder, mostly we completed the about the gallbladder clinical anatomy, and we have also discussed the extrahepatic biliary apparatus. Okay, hope you understood this video. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.